and we will get started. So I am so excited to get to talk to you guys today. My name is Ashley Smith, and I have been a coach for a little over 4 years now. It was November of 2014 when I became a coach. And at that time, I was a full-time teacher, had no kids, and was just working full-time and commuting a lot. And so I'm excited to talk on storytelling tonight. That's what my topic is. And mostly because it's kind of been my superpower this entire time. Since I've been a coach, it's been the one thing that has been something that has just carried me through the business through a lot of ups and downs. And so I'm excited to just share that with you, and just to let you, have a little background of my story. I've kind of been through a lot of different stages as a coach, from being a newlywed, no kids, working full-time, commuting, to now having 2 kids. They're 3.5, almost 4, and almost 2. And I'm almost 20 weeks pregnant with our third. So life has changed a lot over the last 4.5 years. And so keep that in the back of your mind as I kind of share some of this stuff that I'm going to share with you tonight. And we'll kind of go ahead and get started. So let me share my screen, and I want to make sure you guys let me know if you can see this okay. Can y'all see that, the PowerPoint? Give me a thumbs up if you can so I can see somebody. Okay, cool. Perfect. All right, if y'all hear my kids in the background, sorry, they're running around with my hubby. Okay, so tonight I get to talk to you guys about storytelling. So this is something that I have done my entire business. It's been something that has really carried me through and kind of been the one thing that has worked for me, in the sense of I never wanted to feel like a salesperson. And I'm sure so many of you guys have said that before, hundreds of times over, maybe when you first became a coach. And so that's why this topic has kind of been my thing that I've shared about a lot and have been asked to speak on a lot of calls for, because it's been something that has been very, very successful for me and has helped me grow over the last 4 years. Our team has been a top 10 team for the last 3 years in a row, and it's just been incredible what they've done. And this has been something that I've taught my team as well. So I want to go ahead and get started. And this quote I want to start with. So, and you guys have probably heard it from Maya Angelou. I've learned that people will forget what you said. I've learned that people will forget what you said, and people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And that's exactly why I love storytelling. I love the feeling that you can give people by sharing more than just a picture, or more than just saying, here's my workout today, or here's my shake for the day. If you put a story with it, it's so much more impactful. And I know that sounds basic, but it really, really, really is true. So follow me here. I'm going to kind of go through a couple different parts. So I want to talk a little bit about kind of just what is storytelling? What does it look like to share your story on social media? And then at the, towards the end of this, I'm just going to kind of be really brutally honest with what I do in my business, give you guys some examples, give you guys a couple things that I use and some tools, and hopefully that'll help you to see kind of what do I do? Because I get asked that all the time. And this is kind of, like I said, this is my superpower. This is what I do to invite, to fill challenge groups, to fill coach recruiting. Everything that we do as coaches, this is what I use for my business. And it's really created this sense of consistency. So what is storytelling, and how do you do that in your business? You guys, if you allow it to be, telling your story can be something that is so powerful and impactful in what you do as a coach. And it can be the one thing that really totally just skyrockets the success that you have with your inviting, with your sharing, because it really breeds this consistency. So let's talk about a couple things about storytelling and kind of what does that even mean? So obviously, you guys know that everybody has a story, and maybe you believe yours is relevant, or you believe that yours is good enough or not, but it is. So every story has a beginning, it has a middle or a during and an after moment, especially with Beachbody. Everybody has a before. So you have to think about, where were you? I love to think back to when I first became a coach, and what was my before? My before was, I was, a year and a half into marriage. I was super, just uptight, and I was unmotivated. I was frustrated with my job as a teacher. I was teaching middle school and high school Spanish. I was commuting long hours. I was taking it out on my husband. We were not happy. I had nothing for myself, and I was just I felt very lost. And that's where I was when I became a coach. And during that time, that was when we were about to start trying for our first baby. And so I was like, I am not still doing this when I become a mom. I just can't do it. And so my before was all of those feelings. I was that person sitting on the couch, unmotivated at the end of the day, looking for something for herself. I needed a change. I needed physical change, and I needed emotional change. That was my before. And I share that in so many of the things that I talk about in my posts, in my Instagram stories. Every little bit of my story paints that before picture, speaking to that before moment to the other people in the world that might be feeling that same way, to that same woman who might be craving the sense of community and craving that sense of purpose that I was. Then you've got the during of your story. And this is important because this is the stuff that's happening as you get started on this new journey, as you start embracing this new lifestyle, whether it be your fitness is changing, your mindset is changing. If you've been a coach for even a month or even just a couple weeks, you've all had changes that have happened in your life because of Beachbody, and they've started to change different things. So you're sharing about that, the middle part, right? The during, the things that you're experiencing. And then you've got the after. What has it led to in your life now? What are you experiencing? And there's so many more ways. One of the things that I find so often that people get stumped up on is they're like, I don't have an after yet. And yes, you do. Your after could be anything. It doesn't have to be that you're hugely financially successful. It doesn't have to be that you've even lost a pound yet. But do you like what you see in the mirror? Do you feel stronger? Do you feel more committed? Is your mind clearer? For me, one of the first things that changed was my marriage, was the way that I connected with my husband and the way that we just related to one another. Things were changing inside of me, and that changed the way that I was in my my relationship that was so close to me, which was my marriage. So think about these three things as you're thinking about your story. And as we kind of go through this whole PowerPoint, my whole talk with you, this stuff is also important. You can't just have a beginning. You've got to talk about the experiences you're experiencing and what's happening because of it. Another part of being really, really consistent, and again, we talk about this all the time, this is one of the things I talk about in my New Coach Universities, is do you know who you're talking to? I don't know if you're like me, but when I was a newer coach in my newer journey, I kind of felt like I needed to talk to everybody. And my posts were like, hey, you guys, hey, everybody, hey, women, and I was trying to talk to everybody. And that really took away from the uniqueness of speaking to that one type of person that I really wanted to reach. And so it wasn't until I really got down, okay, what is my story? Where did I start? Where am I going? Who do I really want to connect with? And that can totally change over the course of time. I was a newlywed teacher when I first became a coach, but now I'm very much a seasoned mom with almost 3 kids. So that's a lot different, right, than it was in the beginning. So think about your person. Who are they? What do they do? When do they wake up? When do they want to work out? Where do they hang out? Where do they go shopping? And it seems so silly, but those are the things you want to find, the people that are just like you. You want to connect with the people who are just like you, because that creates your tribe. That creates the amazing community that you have, that you get to have this tangible community and relationship with. So don't worry about talking to everybody. Get specific. That's such a great way to use the voice and the platform that you have through your Instagram, through your social media, whatever method and mode it is that you use. That is what you want to focus on. Get passionate about it. Find those people and use that in the way that you speak and word your posts and your stories and everything that you share. This is a great graphic, and I'm going to share the PowerPoint with you, but I love this when I get mixed up in my head and I kind of, I'm stuck with posts, or I'm stuck with things that I want to share about, or even in my stories. This always helps me kind of get back to what I want to remind myself of who I'm really looking for, because, we go through changes in our life. Everything goes up and down. And so this is a great way to kind of remind you of who is it that I'm looking for? Why did I get started in my business? How did I get started? These are all great ways to just spark some ideas of how to share your story. So take a screenshot, take a picture, but I'll also post this recording later with this PDF so you can have some of the links that are in here. Okay, this is something that I created for, I think it was a year or two ago, for our one of the leadership conferences, and it was on Instagram. It was on just sharing your story, shocker, but it was called the color wheel. So you'll see it up here on the top right. This color wheel, you guys, is life-changing. It is so important to share with newer coaches and with even revisiting for yourself if you feel like you're going through a season change where you really need to figure out, okay, what is my story? I need to get back to the basics of what am I even trying to share? Who am I even trying to reach? So the basis behind this is it's just a color wheel. You've got all these different colors on it. And it was just an image that I liked because it's prettier than just making a list, right? So you're just filling in those spaces with the different things that relate to you. Who are you? What do you like to do? And the same thing, the who, the what, the why, the when, the where. Put those things on there so that you can use them to spark things in your mind as you are starting to share, or as you're continuing to share your journey and trying to share more of who you are in order to build that connective tissue with the people that you're connecting with. And again, this getting vulnerable is something to not take lightly. You guys, we live in a world right now where social media can be this highlight reel, and it often still is, no matter how hard you try. But trying to aim for non-perfection is something so valued by your followers and so valued by people who find you on social media. When you try to create this sense of perfection and like everything is great, you really run the risk of alienating yourself to your followers. It makes you feel it makes you feel intangible. It doesn't make you feel like you are approachable, like you are a normal human being. I'll give you an example from today. Like just a couple hours ago, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be the best mom when the kids wake up. We're going to have a water gun fight. It's going to be great. They were so excited. They wanted to wear their new Crocs they got from Easter. So they're putting on their shoes and they're getting all pumped up. I kid you not, within 30 seconds of us running around, shooting the water guns, and I had a camera on, so I was taking some video of it because it was, of course, going to be adorable, right? So I was taking some video, and not even 30 seconds in, my son does like a skid on his knee, and blood everywhere. He's freaking out. He's crying. And I go to post the video, and I'm like, well, the first 15 seconds look so perfect, right? Like we're having this great moment. But then I decided to post the other 15 seconds where he falls and where he's not, it's not a pretty image. You guys, that is a silly example, but it's an example of being relatable, of being vulnerable, of sharing a moment in motherhood that my people are going to relate to. Maybe not everybody's network, but my network relates to. Thank you so much for not just sharing that you had this great idea with your kids, but sharing that it goes, how 9 times out of 10 great ideas go for moms. That was something that was tangible and relatable to my market, to the people that I connect with. So obviously your job, you guys, when you share your story, is to be real. Of course, we go through hard times, we go through ups and downs. As over the 4 years that I've been a coach, we have been through so much as a family, from a lot of moves to a lot of pregnancies now, to my parents going through a really, really horrible divorce that took a lot of strain on our family, and my husband and I especially. My sister went through chemo for lymphoma. We had so many things that happened in our family over the last 4 years. Mind you, the 3 years that I was still in the top 10 with my team. And that is because of this. That is because of storytelling. That is because of being vulnerable and raw and real, and allowing myself to feel and work through those things with the people that are following my story, but also providing a sense of silver lining. There's no way that you can get through some of the things that you're going to go through in life over the course of your journey without the community that you've made in coaching, without having a fitness regimen for yourself that just feels good when you need to just get out stress and get out, work through things. What about personal development? Those are the things that have helped so much for me personally to get through these things. So I'm able to share, and I'm able to put those feelings out there, as much as is appropriate. and then give a silver lining, because your job, you are here to inspire and to empower people to be positive and to find that little sense of silver lining no matter what they're going through. And so that's a really awesome thing that you have to do with telling your story on social media. Kind of in that same breath is being valuable. And again, we talk about this a lot. It is so easy to make a post and to just be like, selfie, here's my workout for today, got it in. That's great, but you're not really sharing anything about the workout. You're not really sharing, was it maybe really hard for you to get that workout in today? You're not giving them anything behind it. So when I talk about my workout, instead of just saying, got my workout in today, I talk about maybe the craziness that happened before to make it happen, or I show a glimpse of the absolute insanity of my kids running around me while I'm trying to get our workout in. Or maybe it's that I got it in at 11 o'clock at night, and this is the reason why, because of my community that was there to hold me accountable. You see how little things like that, it may seem so insignificant and small, but they are things that add value. It shows that you have a community around you. It lets people see you're a part of something. You can see how just tweaking it a little bit can tell a story rather than just posting a picture with a selfie saying you got a workout in. And it's the same thing to do with other stuff that you talk about. We'll talk about that in a minute. So I love these questions, and I often ask myself this because after you've been doing this for 4 years, you can easily just like throw something up there just to be like, I got to post. And then you kind of lose sight of, okay, wait, that is not telling anything valuable at all. So I like to ask myself some of these questions. Can this inspire somebody? Am I being real, or is this trying to portray a sense of perfection? Because that's not what I want. I want to always add that sense of realness, because my followers and all the messages I've gotten over the last 4 years reaffirming that fact, that they love the realness and they love the raw feeling that they get when they come to my page. They know it's not going to be just perfection and just perfectness. They know they're going to get some realness to it. Is it making a difference? Would somebody want to see this? Why would they want to see that? Is it a tip? Is it a resource? Is it something funny that just lets them see the personality of you and your spouse, or you and your kids? Think about what that means to somebody else. Can they take it with them? I heard a quote the other day, and the woman was saying that Instagram or social media is a take you with me kind of platform. And I love that, because I think that's exactly what Instagram is. Are you creating and sharing things that you can somebody wants to put that little save to collection on, or they want to save that picture, or they want to save what inspiration you gave them, or resource or tip or recipe, whatever it might be? Is this something that your your avatar, your culture, your network would enjoy seeing? And it doesn't have to be a really huge reason why. It's just a reason that works for you and for the people that you're trying to reach. So we talk about storytelling in a way. You guys have probably heard the term breadcrumbing. That's another term that we kind of use with storytelling and with sharing. And you guys, so from the very beginning, I told you that I really, really, really did not ever want to feel like I was a salesperson. That was my number one thing when I became a coach. And I was like, I am going to give myself like a month to do this, because I really don't want to feel like I'm selling anything. I just don't know. I don't know what this is going to be like. I had no idea what coaching was or what Beachbody was when I became a coach, mind you. So I decided from the very beginning, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Every day, I'm going to pretend like my social media is a journal. And I'm going to pretend like when I write and when I share, and this is before Instagram stories, right? So it's much easier now. But when I share and when I post, I'm going to pretend like I'm opening up my journal and I am just writing and sharing with people about my day. And so that is kind of what I started doing from the very beginning. And it's been the thing that has just built and built and built over time. And it just stuck. And it started to, bring people to my page and bring it wanting to be shared by friends, because people were liking that it wasn't a bunch of pushing and selling on them, but I was rather just sharing little bits of my story. Yes, some fitness related. Yes, some nutrition related. Yes, some personal development and inspiration. And then motherhood as I became a new mom, and then marriage as I got stronger in my marriage, and different things like that. And it started to keep people interested and engaged. And so as I started to bring in gentle invites and bring in ways for people to join me, they wanted to. They saw what I was doing every single day behind the scenes. And now it's so easy. We'll talk about Instagram stories in a second. But breadcrumbing and storytelling, you guys, that's why I say it's your superpower. It is the way that you can share little bits and pieces of your life and use that as your way to sell to your customers and to your followers without it feeling like that. It just brings so much joy to what you do because you get to just connect with people on your story. And that is the best thing that you can do. And it's the number one thing that has honestly kept me around this long for 4.5 years, because it's given me a lot of joy to just share my story and see how that, connects with somebody else. And then I get to hear their story, and it just kind of creates a snowball effect. So how many of you go ahead and give me a heart or say yes in the chat box or whatever? I'm sure you have all felt like that when you became a coach. Like, I do not want to be a salesperson. And so we're going to talk about some of these ways that you can do this without feeling like that. That was my number one thing, like I said. And so this is your superpower, y'all. And I'm about to unbreak it for you and tell you exactly what I do to storytell in my own social media pages, mostly Instagram. So storytelling, though, you guys, I want you to think about it like connective tissue, okay? Like two hands coming together, like you can feel that tissue that you are connecting between yourself and somebody else. I know it kind of sounds gross, but really it's good. So you're building this connection between your followers. That is your job. Your job, that is the lifeline, that is the success of your business, is if you can share your story good enough, so much so that people want to join you simply because they want to feel the way that you feel and they want to do the things that you're doing. That is where the success lies in what you do as a coach in the way of storytelling. And that's where how I feel is where the joy remains as you continue on in this business. So one really cool thing about social media is that you are able to create this instant relatability between yourself and between your followers. So one thing that I really, really recommend as you start doing this, and like I said, I'm going to break it down for you with what I do, is create a sense of consistency. This is something that you present to your followers every single week, every single day. You want them to kind of know what's coming. What can they expect from you? Is it maybe that every Monday you do a dance in the kitchen while you make your shake with your kids? Is it maybe that every Tuesday you share a little bit of your story on your stories? Is it maybe that every Thursday you go live at 8 p.m. and you answer any questions that people have? Is it that on Thursdays you share your transformation story? Is it on Fridays you have a dance party with your kids? Is it, you see what I mean? Creating that sense of consistency that people can expect from you, that people start to see little bits and pieces of your story unveil itself. And what that does is that when you go to create a real invite, like a, hey, join my challenge group, or hey, I'm looking for coaches, or I'm looking for women who are wanting X, Y, and Z. When you go to do that, you are going to have so much more return of investment than if you had not been sharing anything all this time leading up to that one invite. But when you're breadcrumbing and you're storytelling every day, multiple times a day, in everything you do and everything you post and what you share, because it all works with what Beachbody has incorporated in your life, the more that you do that consistently every day and creating this schedule for yourself, the easier it is to invite people because they get it. They trust you. They see that you have been doing this consistency thing for weeks, for months, for years, and it just builds that credibility of yourself. This is one of the biggest things that you have to build back up when you stop. When you stop and you maybe take a step back or you quit and then you come back, this is one of the biggest and hardest things that you have to earn back from your followers is they have to trust you again. They have to trust that you're going to continue showing up every single week, every single day, and that you're not going to quit on them. So bringing up this consistency and using this with your social media is huge. And it's something so simple to do with Instagram stories now, and we'll talk about that. Another way that you can create really instant relatability by storytelling, and this is mainly for your Instagram stories, but also in posts, is asking for engagement. This is such a fun way to get to know your people better. You don't know who your people are? Cool. Ask them for suggestions. Ask them for what they like. Do polls on Instagram stories. Ask them, would you rather this or that? that helps you see who your people are, and do it every week. Do it once a week. I have a girl that I follow who every Tuesday night she does Let's Play Would You Rather, and it just helps her to get to know her market better. So that is one of the great things that you can do too. You're building connection with them. They feel like you care about what they're saying. You're sharing some things that you relate to, and then you're asking them as well. So you can see, who are you compatible with? Who do you relate to? And it opens up really awesome conversations as well. Being a giver. So one of the greatest things that we get to do on social media, because we are coaches, because we have this cool little take it with you platform, is that you get to be a giver. You get to give amazing resources to your people. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't have 10,000 followers yet with the swipe up option, that is okay. The first 2.5 years of my business, that's how my business was built, because there was no Instagram stories. There was none of that option. So we always had to do, drop your email here, or send me a message, or send me an email, or go to my bio. That was back before Linktree or any of those buttons that put all your links in there was a thing. So, but still, don't let that stop you up. Being a giver is just letting people feel like you genuinely want to give them something that keeps them coming back. You're not asking them for anything in return. You're simply just giving them resources, sharing things that they would want. For me, my market is a lot of moms. So I share a lot of, tips and tools with my kids. I share a lot of links to clothing. I get asked about clothes all the time. So none of that really has anything to do with my business, but it's letting me share a bit of me, a bit of what I do, what I like, what I engage with, what I use in my daily life with my followers. Again, building that credibility and building that connection with them. And now we're going to go into Instagram stories. So this is the easiest way, y'all. And I know how many of you guys use Instagram. Most of you probably. I do use Facebook a little bit, but I would say probably about 85 to 95 to 90% of my business is on Instagram. So this is where I have really built the bulk of my business from the very, very beginning. When I started as a coach, I had maybe close to 1,000 followers. I was part of a Tone It Up community. If you guys know what that is, it's another fitness community where it's like printables, and now it's gotten huge. But back then, that's how I kind of started working out at home. And so that was I had a very, very small following, like just under 1,000 followers when I started, like I said, in 2014, at the end of 2014. So this is where I just absolutely love the idea of storytelling. And it's where I feel like I really built my superpower in this, because it's so easy to share on a platform like this, where it just makes it simple for you to be raw and real. So if you've heard anybody talk about Instagram, which you all have, that's like the hot thing right now, right? Instagram, we talk about all the time, is a backstage pass into what you do. It is real time, it's raw, it's an easy way to build connection, an easy way to build engagement. It's so simple to use that if you're not using it consistently, you are missing out because it's such an easy way to share all the behind the scenes stuff of what you do. And I'm gonna break it down for you with what I do. It's a very non-scary way to invite. So this is my favorite way to invite. Like I said, little old me, I'm super introverted. You guys might not know that, but I am like so introverted. I'm like sweating and my face is red right now. I'm so shy and so introverted that doing stuff like this makes me so overwhelmed, and becoming a coach was like the biggest outside of my comfort zone, outside of my comfort box thing ever. And so I was like, I'm not going to invite, I'm not going to do that. And, obviously my coach would be like, that's not a good thing. You need to invite. But I started kind of wiggling my way around and figuring out, okay, how can I do this in a less scary way? Well, now you guys, it's super simple to do that with Instagram stories. So as you're doing what I've told you before, as you're sharing little backstage pieces, as you're maybe, sharing you making your shake during the day, then you're talking about your workouts, then you're maybe showing a glimpse of something that you're working on your computer. I'm sharing all this stuff. I'm sharing a glimpse into my challenge tracker app, showing my girls check in. I'm maybe sharing some of their posts. All these little things are very simple, non-scary ways to share the little bits and pieces of what I do as a coach. There is absolutely no reason that you should not be inviting multiple times a day through what you share in your Instagram stories. it creates this private place for people to be able to respond and connect with you. That's one thing that I have found that people really like and enjoy about Instagram, especially when you're following somebody who maybe has a bigger following or somebody who they feel like is an account, of somebody that they don't know, because they get to respond to you, and it doesn't have to be publicly put under. They don't have to put their email. They don't have to publicly respond there, but they get to respond to a story, and it goes just to you, and it creates this really awesome connection between the two of you because it's a private conversation, and it allows for you to go ahead and just start answering their questions, talking to them, getting conversational with them, and connecting with them in a way that would lead to an invite because there's somebody who keeps coming back. Another way to use storytelling in your business, you guys, again, to share, and we talked about this a little bit, is just getting conversational. Getting to know your people, ask them questions, share things with them. The question box feature and polls are huge, huge, huge engagement boosters for you just getting connection with your followers and looking for who is it that's connecting with me. In the way of inviting, in the way of using your story, if you're sharing consistently every single day in your stories, little bits and pieces of what you do as a coach, then it gets to be really simple when you want to invite, because guess where you're going to go first? To your Instagram stories. Look at the people who have been watching a few of your stories. They're the first people that you message in a non-icky, more warm market feeling kind of invite. And I send something like this. This is my little message that I send to girls who have been watching my stories. Feel free to screenshot and make it your own. And this works for me almost every single time they come back and respond with something, because it's non-icky, and I'm just thanking them for being a part of my journey, because genuinely, I'm glad that they're there. And I really want to know, why are they there? What are they connecting with? I'm sharing so many different facets of my story. Why are they here? So I say something like, hey girl, I've been seeing you watch my Instastories recently, and I just wanted to tell you how much I appreciate you following along. I hope you enjoy getting to know more about me and my crazy hot mess mama life. Are you a mama too, or are you on a health journey also? What brought you to my feed or to my page? I always love finding out where my new friends are coming from. Reach out if you need anything. XOXO Ashley. So something very, very simple, but this is like a gentle invite in my mind. It's a gentle connection, and it's something that has really, really created a sense of community on my feed on such a public platform, but it's really created that sense of small knit community with each of my followers. Then this is kind of a thing that I use, and I call it the tap, tap, tap. But as we talk about Instastories in a second, you'll see what I mean. But just building progression instead of writing a post on an Instagram story and filling it with all these words, make them click a little bit, make them keep engaged, make them see what's coming next, especially for things like recipes or unfolding a story. That's a really great way to do it. So, okay, this is where I get into the details. So, this is what I do, all right? This is what I do now, still, most currently. This is my storytelling system. This is how I make sure that I'm getting my story out all the time. I'm gonna give you examples, and I'm gonna show you 2 videos in a second to kind of show you a better glimpse of what that looks like. So every day, one of my posts, and I post currently at usually about 2 times a day. So usually sometime in the mid-morning and then sometime at night. If I miss the morning one because I'm a hot mess mom and I'm pregnant, then sometimes it'll be the afternoon and it'll be an evening one. But usually just 2 times a day right now, because what that does is it allows people to fully engage on my last post instead of only seeing a little bit of 3 or 4 posts that day. They're going to need to see just 2 really quality ones. So my posts usually have something to do with my coach life, with what I love about my job. I'm sharing something maybe about my kids or how I love that I get to be with them during the day. And again, I'm going to show you some examples of what that looks like, but I'm not afraid to share about that in my posts because that is telling a story. I often, at least twice a week, share the beginning of where I was right before I found coaching, the during, what happened when I found this community, what started to change in my life, and what it's doing now in this after season that I'm embracing now. So think about that again as you start sharing your story more and trying to be more intentional. You've got to share more than just a picture or just here I am with my kids or here I am in my classroom. No, share about what's on that computer screen and why. Share about what the feeling is behind that picture. Painting a story is so much more impactful than just a picture. So then a very tactical thing that I do is every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, this is something that almost my whole team does now. We use the Unfold app. How many of you guys love the Unfold app? It's awesome. It's on your iPhone, super easy to use, and I love it because it creates a template for you and it stays there. So you can edit it and change it up, and it makes it so easy to post again the next week and edit the pictures or change the wording a little bit. So I use this every week, like I said, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, to use the Unfold app to create a story layout for myself for a call to action type thing. So let me show you an example of one. Tell me if you can see this. So, okay, so here's a coaching one. Can y'all see that? Somebody give me a thumbs up so I can make sure you can see it. Okay, cool. So I'll play it and then I'll kind of pause as we go. So this is the Unfold app and you'll see it. It's actually in the app here. And this is a coaching one. Now, I could just post a picture and say, join my challenge group or join my coach community. I'm looking for X, Y, and Z. That's super awesome. And that might work for some people, but my people want to know a story. They want to know where I've been, what's been going on. So this is a creative way that a couple of people on my team and myself do. Thursdays or Tuesdays, and I kind of tweak it up every so often. So I start with this, and I've got, over the past 4 years, you've watched me it's kind of quick, do these different things. So I talk about, creating a business, and about where I created that business, watching me work out. They've watched me work out over the course of time, right? It's been the last 4 years, and I'm sharing a little bit about that. Then I go into, you can do videos in there too, which is cool. I talk about travel a little bit. I share some pictures. I share proof of people on my team, of community, of things that we've done, of proof that we've done. Again, it could be one place that you've been. That's still awesome. That's more than other people have been. So sharing things like that can help. Then I go into, again, my story is very, very much about my family. They are my why. So I share a little bit about that. I share that it's helped change different parts of my family. My story about my marriage is a huge part of my why, of what really changed the beginning, of what kept me going. And so I share that about my husband and I. I share about a little bit about income. I share that it's been something that's totally changed my life and changed our family. I talk a little bit about, where I get to work. Sometimes it's at my kitchen table. Sometimes it's in my office. I talk a little bit about my team, and I'm sharing that they've watched me do all of this while I've been working on myself and while I've been sharing that. So, and this slide here could be anything you want it to be. Lifestyle influencer, interested in doing what I've been doing, interested in becoming a coach too. And then on the bottom is where I then put a little poll, like a yes, I'm in, or yes, send me more information, or I drop a question box and I say, drop me your email. Again, this is such an easy way to share your story and also put an invite in there, because it's so simple and so easy for people to continue that tap progression and really get a sense of who you are. And again, I do this weekly. So people are seeing this weekly, and I change up the words, I change up some pictures. But again, that is one for sharing my story as a coach. Now let me go back to this one. Oh, I'm gonna have to scroll all the way down again. Let's see. If I go to my next one, so here's another one. When I talk about a little call to action, this is one that I actually just did, talking about my story. So I started with this again. I want to paint this picture for them. I want them to go on this journey with me from when I was a teacher to now. And I want them to know why this community has been so impactful. So I'm sharing a little bit about my journey, and there's a lot of words, but again, you guys get the links to these, so you can stop and read them more. So I talk about my journey. I talk about why a challenge group is so amazing to me. I talk about the accountability and how it's really helped me right now in my current stage, which is pregnancy, my third pregnancy. And so I share proof of that. I share some pictures. And then I talk about a little bit about, getting deeper into my story. I was a very insecure, not confident, super unmotivated, and just down and out girl looking for something. And so this is a little bit about that part of my story. And then I go into just sharing, again, a little bit about the community. I'm talking about the friendships. I'm talking about something that's really huge in my heart, which is my kids, that they get to be a part of this. And then I talk to that person, no matter who you are. If you are watching this and you are a stay-at-home mom, you are a working person, you are kind of like me, you are that weird in between. And this is always the thing that gets my girls who become coaches. They're like, that's me. My market is very much people who want to be moms at home, but they feel a little bit guilty that they actually want something for themselves. They want to work. So I'm speaking to my people, and then I'm sharing that they don't have to be any certain kind of person. I'm sharing different things about my team, a couple different pictures, again, just showing proof of the community and showing proof of what they're able to be a part of. And so then here's my call to action. Okay, 4 years ago, I wasn't ready, and then I made that decision. So then I go into my challenge group, and I'm talking about that every month I host a boot camp. Here's what they can expect. And then I talk about different ways they can join. And so again, sharing just different links, and I give them 2 options. So I give them an option to, let's see if I can play it again. I give them an option to join a boot camp, or they can take it up a notch and they can become a coach while they do it, and just really create that sense of accountability for themselves. And that's always something that actually gets a lot of interest. And so then here at the bottom, this is where I would put a question box for an email, or a yes or a no for a poll. And then I send messages based on that poll. There's so many different ways that you can utilize that. And then I let them know that if they want to email me, they can ask me questions there. So that's a little bit about what I do with those unfolds. And like I said, that's my thing. I do that every week consistently. And when you use the Unfold app, you can also use a place like Canva, because you can also keep your templates there online. That's a computer one. But that's a great way to keep your stuff in one place and create call to actions for yourself. See how non-icky that feels? See how therapeutic it is almost to work through your story and to write it out and to share in a different way. And it's once you do it one time, you have it done, and then you can kind of tweak it up, and then you use that every single week. So a couple other ways that I really share my story and create that as a way to create opportunity for my business is when I post workout videos. How many of you guys post workout videos every day, right, in your stories? So a lot of people post those, but how many of you literally just post your workout? Like, you just post a video, right? So a way to also help with that and to create some engagement and create a sense of opportunity for people is I never post a workout video without telling a story with it and offering a way for them to join me. So when I am posting a workout in my stories, it might be a couple different clips long. And while I'm doing that, I'm telling a story. Maybe I'm saying, oh my gosh, we woke up so late today, didn't get my workout in until noon. Then I show, maybe the next slide is like, my kids are eating lunch, one of them screaming, but I had to pause the workout, 7 times. I'm painting this picture of this non-perfection of this workout, but I'm sharing a little bit about my reality right now and how I am fitting this workout in and why it's important. And I am showing that sense of consistency, dedication, accountability for my groups, and also that inspiration to somebody who needs it. Can't tell you how many times I get a response or a message when I share something like that with a couple little stories with it and words, because they're like, oh my gosh, I had to go get my workout in after I read that, because how could I not? If you did your workout during that, how could I not get my workout done? And so that's the kind of thing, that's the kind of sense of accountability that you want to just provide to your general public, even if they're not in your challenge group. And then at the end, my last story that I post with the workout, I always say, need this kind of accountability or need this kind of support, swipe up. Or if I didn't have a swipe up, sometimes I'll put, drop your email in this box so I can send you more information. My newest boot camp's in open enrollment. Something like that. Such an easy way to invite and connect, but another way to connect with my story. Okay, so when I am showing behind the scenes stuff, again, so as we use Instagram stories, as you get really consistent with that, you can really show the behind the scenes of your stories so easily. So every day you'll see me sharing maybe like a boomerang of me working on this PowerPoint. Maybe you'll see me, filling out my Power Hour tracker. Maybe you'll see me on a couple calls with some one-to-ones with coaches. Maybe you'll see me on a team call or me reading my personal development. All those different things, I always put a link with, or I always give an opportunity to 4 years ago, I never even knew what personal development was. I can't even imagine my life without it. Drop your email below if you need to know, need to learn more about why coaching has changed my life, or swipe up if you need this kind of accountability in your life. Things like that. There's so many ways for you to use your story and use your Instagram as a behind the scenes and as an opportunity for somebody to find out more information. So I challenge you after this call to think about all the things you've shared today. Was there a missed opportunity that you had in what you shared, or what you did today that you didn't share about, that could have been used to grow your business forward, to share a little bit of the behind the scenes of what you do as a coach in so many different ways? So that's a really powerful way to do it. And don't let that go because it seems like such a silly thing, or like you're inviting too many different ways. But no, you're giving people opportunity as you're sharing your story. And that's such a huge way. A couple other just like little tiny things that I do is, obviously I have my story highlights, and I always make sure to share stuff to there so people can easily access and find what it is that they're looking for, whether it was a program or maybe it was one of my story posts, and I put that there and I title it my story. So somebody can go through there and fill it out, and maybe they'll drop their email, and I just check it every couple of days. So that's a really great way to just kind of keep yourself updated and make sure people have a way to connect with you. And then this is something that works really, really good for me. And I'm going to show you guys some examples here. But utilizing my post to story conversion. So I've done a couple tests on myself, a couple months, and tried to see, okay, so do I get the most traction when I just post about a challenge group or about coaching, or when I do it in my stories? So my stories are way more effective than my posts. Shocker, right? Because of the crazy algorithms of Instagram and whatever, your stuff does not get seen as much. So what I do more often than not is that I don't even really make a huge call to action on my feed. My feed is very much blog-like, it's story-like. I'm sharing stories, and you're going to see some examples of that in a second. I share some stories, but then what I'll do is it might have been talking about fitness, or how I got my workout in that day, or how I love working from home, and how I, never could have dreamt that 4 years ago, and what my life looked like 4 years ago till now. And I might not even say a big call to action in that, but what I do then is I share it to my stories. I cover it up so people have to click on it, right, to see my stories. And then after that, I then get on my stories and I talk for a couple of slides, and I talk about why coaching has impacted me, why I'm inviting to this accountability group, and I'm letting them be the first people to know about it. That has filled a challenge group the last 6 months every single time by sharing that way, by using your post, but then sharing it to your stories, and then using that as a way to expound and let them see you, instead of just giving them a post that's a call to action to join me, a comment below or whatever. Yeah, that's great, but share it to your stories, and then get on there and let them see your face, and let them see why it's impacted you over the last 4 years, and why you want them to join you, why you want to help them on their journey, or why you want to gift them with this opportunity. So let me share a couple examples of how this works. Now, every post of mine is not this long, and it makes it look really long when you look at it on here. I definitely filter out some that are shorter, some that are longer. But if you guys have never seen my Instagram, it's Ashley Smith Fitness. And you'll see that a lot of my stuff paints a story, even if it's just something about my day. If I haven't posted yet today, and I'm posting at 2 p.m., then you better believe I'm going to update people on what I've been doing that morning, and how, because my days always incorporate what I do as a coach, since 4 years ago. I still do my personal development. I still, drink my shake in the morning, or I make a healthy breakfast, and I share, you get the gist. So I still share a little bit about that, or I share a quote, and then I take them on a story. So this one right here, I'm obviously sharing this quote from Rachel Hollis that was about just embracing the idea of things for yourself, things that you might want and dream of that nobody else understands but you, and how powerful and freeing that is. And then instead of just sharing, I could have just stopped right there and shared that quote, and that would have been totally impactful enough. But instead, I needed to unbox it and share a little bit more about why that meant something to me. And I take them on a journey of somebody who maybe has never seen my page before, of what my story was from 4 years ago to now. And so then what I would have done with this is I share it right here with this little arrow. I share it to my stories, and then I pop on there for 2 or 3 stories talking with my face, sharing about why coaching has impacted me. And it's like a double doozy, right? You get to get the engagement in your stories and also drive people to that story to read more about it. So whether it is you talk beforehand and then just say, click the link right here to see my newest post so you can read more about my story. You'll be surprised at how many people want to find out more when you share a lot more. So this one is just a little glimpse into me and my kiddos outside. Again, just talking about working out, in a different way than just sharing my workout. I'm telling them a story. I'm telling them about the type of mom that I know my kids deserve on a day when I do not want to work out. These are the things that I remember that my kids deserve out of me as their mom. And again, share it to my stories, talk about my accountability group that just opened enrollment, give a link for somebody to join me. So again, I've hit them with a story. I've given a lot more context and a lot more connective tissue, and I've given them a way to join me. Same thing with these. These are all just more examples of sharing. These girls, I could have done a huge, big recruiting coaching post, but instead I just wanted to talk about how cool it is that 4 years ago, I had no idea who these girls were. We met on social media. Now we talk every day and travel together multiple times a year and are the best of friends. Share it to my stories. And after that, I invite them to coaching. I talk about a way that if you've ever felt like this, or you ever felt like you needed community or like you were alone and lost, swipe up and get some information on how to join my inspiration crew. So just an example. Same thing about this, kind of like a I wouldn't have believed you kind of post. If you had told me that this would have been my life today, I wouldn't have believed you. And I go into showing some proof of kind of what life is like now versus what it was before. And again, always using the sharing from your post to your stories. And then just 2 other ones, again, sharing about, there's just so many different ways you can share, but I hope you guys are getting the sense of remembering kind of what I've kind of created for myself is what the root of my story is that I'm selling every single day, every single month, year through my platform is, yes, health, it's fitness, body, spirit, and mind. I'm sharing joy and positivity and how to get through hard things. I'm sharing inspiration for motherhood. I'm sharing recipes and ways to make it simple for yourself. That's the kind of stuff that I share on my feed. And so that's the kind of stuff that I think about when I make a post, more than just me in workout clothes or me with a bump picture or me working in my office. I'm sharing and painting more of a story. So, and then again, same thing when I do something smaller like this. This was a hugely liked post the other day and really engaged on in my stories was, turns out the most beautiful things in my life were never on my to-do list. Such a simple quote. And instead of breaking that into a story, I actually just shared that to my Instagram story, covered it up so people had to click the link to see it. And then again, I talked about how grateful I was for like 5 story slides with words sharing about my story, talking about how grateful I was for this job and why I never believed that it would have come true, and how I made it happen. And then I give links for them to be able to join me. So you guys, hopefully you get a sense of what that looks like and kind of how I've used it as a way to more easily invite. It doesn't feel scary when you're sharing every single day. And it sometimes seems so silly and so simple. Like even creating this PowerPoint, and like, I feel like this is so simple and like not something that people want to hear about, but it's sometimes so easily forgotten that it makes it something that you need to hear often. So storytelling is just, you guys, this has been my superpower because it has allowed me to keep the joy at the center of everything that I do because of coaching. It's the reminder to me of how Beachbody has really impacted and kind of infiltrated itself into every part of my story and who I am. And sometimes we feel silly saying that, like, I'm changed forever because I'm a Beachbody coach. We don't mean it like that, but really, if you've been around for even just a couple weeks or a couple months that you've stuck around as a coach, if you talk to somebody who's been around for a couple months or a couple weeks, they have all experienced a life change, whether it's relationally with maybe their spouse like it was for me, or their family members. Maybe it's empowered them to do something that they really needed to do a long time ago with a family member, or have a conversation with somebody. Maybe it's helped them on their fitness journey. I'm sure all of us have experienced that, whether you've lost 1 pound or just gained some muscle tone or whatever it's been, or you feel more confident in the mirror. Maybe you've gained community. You can see how there's so many different ways. And for me, that's been a huge thing for me, especially through all the different life changes and events that we went through over the last 4 years. This is the gentle reminder that I always need to keep sharing what I'm going through, keep sharing the silver lining, and keep reminding myself that I would not still be here if it had not been for my community around me, if it had not been for personal development, if it had not been for my fitness that allowed me to just work through things. I always say work it out on the mat. If it had not been for that, there's so many different ways that Beachbody has been really, really powerful for me. And so that's why you need to continue storytelling, continue sharing your story, little bits and pieces, and it gets easier over time, and people want to stick around. They want to share you to their friends. They want more people to see you because you're engaging to them and you are connected with them. You are real. And it allows you to feel like you are not selling a dang thing. You are literally just sharing the things that work for you. And people feel that. They want to join you because they want to feel the way that you are expressing that you feel, or they want to experience the changes that you're expressing that you have experienced. And so if you need help kind of figuring out what that is for you, or maybe you feel like you've lost what your story is, I know for me, I've kind of gone through a lot of ups and downs. Then I kind of go back to the very root again, and I make myself think of 5 to 6 root words of what do I offer to my people. When people come to my page, what is at the root of everything that I'm sharing, and kind of use those as the guide to share. And that's what we talked about when I just shared all those examples. For me, my page is health and fitness. Yeah, of course. But it's also joy and positivity and really cultivating that. You know, some people, you might be a big mindset guru, or you might be an amazing nutritionist as your full-time job. And so you share a lot of nutrition tips. For me, it's also motherhood and just, you know, creating that real sense of community around that and sharing really simple tips and recipes for my people. So I want to leave you with this, and then I'm going to ask you 2 questions. So I love this, and this is the quote that I shared when I created a presentation for a leadership conference a couple years ago. And I just think it speaks so perfectly to what storytelling is and why it's so important as a Beachbody coach. It's important that we share our experiences with other people. When you tell your story, you free yourself and give other people permission to acknowledge their own story. You guys, when you start sharing, instead of just trying to sell them with a picture of a shake or a workout or whatever your newest promotion is, when you put it with a story like I've shown you some different ways, it allows you to create an opportunity. It creates this open, level playing field for you to connect with other people who need support, but they want somebody who's not going to just shove it down their throat. They want to connect with you, and it lets them feel like they can be open with you too. So I want to leave you with this, and I want you to think about that as you get started, or, you know, implementing it, not get started. I know some of you guys have been coaches for a while, but as you kind of implement this in your mind, you know, what situation were you in when someone else's story touched you and led you to become a coach, led you to become a part of this community, a part of your community? Where were you when that happened? Because that's a really powerful moment. Maybe not in all of life, but in your business as a coach, that's a very profound moment. And you need to remember that and repaint that in your mind. And then you want to keep thinking about that in the same breath of, if you didn't keep sharing your story, or you didn't get better at sharing your story and sharing all the ways that it's impacting every facet of your life, how many people will not hear this amazing gift that you have to give to them? Beachbody and what we do as coaches, you guys, as silly as it sounds, it's a gift. It's something that has the power to change your life and has the power to save somebody's life if they let it. So I always think about that when I am sharing, or when I just want to share a workout picture without anything with it. I always remind myself of this. I'm like, where is that woman sitting that needs to hear my story, that needs to hear something that's going to just spark this change in her to take the first step in making a change? Because if you don't, you run the risk of so many other women not experiencing that same gift and that same change that you have. So whether you believe it or not, your story is so powerful and it matters and it's worth sharing. And if you are one of those people that doesn't want to sell, then you have to stop letting that be your excuse that's holding you back from inviting people, and start telling your story more and start telling it better. Start implementing some of these things that I shared that have worked for me, and start seeing it kind of unleash that power on your business, because it can be so, so powerful. So that's all I have on storytelling. I hope that was helpful for some of you who have maybe never heard my story or heard kind of how, how I have run my business, because I was a very like, I'm not going to invite, I'm way too shy kind of person when I started as a coach. And this has been the thing that has been amazing. So I'll look at some of these, comments on here and see if there's anybody that has any questions. There is a good question on here. So as far as the engagement, asking the audience questions in stories and in posts, what do you do if no one ever answers? So somebody told me this a long time ago, and I did start doing this for myself. This only works for the question, the little question boxes, but when you are asking people for suggestions or engagement or whatever it might be, and they're not asking, like you're not seeing any questions asked yet, go ahead and ask yourself the questions that you want to answer. So maybe it's like, what does a coach even do? Or like, how do I, how did you get started? Or like, if it's something like, about coaching, ask yourself the question so then you can share it and answer it. And that spurs more people to feel like they're not the first one to ask a question. So that's something that can help a lot with engagement as far as the little question boxes. So let's see, any other questions on here? I don't think there's a lot, but I hope that was helpful. The Unfold app is a huge, huge, huge game changer if you don't use that. And Nicole, you asked, how do you have all these amazing photos? I use my phone. I do have a really nice camera, and I used it for like 3 or 4 weeks, and I was like, this is great, I'm going to use this all the time. But the reality is I'm a hot mama mess all the time. So I literally just use my phone, turn the timer on, set it up. Sometimes it's like jacked up on like 7 books and like hanging off by a thread with